Hey, this is authorjxfu and I'm coming with you with another video today. So now we know that there are many awesome epic Pokemon anime moments. We have Ash beating Gary, we have Ash beating Paul, we have Ash finally beating the entire championship, defeating both Cynthia and Leon back to back. These are incredible moments, but because the anime is finally ending with Ash's journey about to declare its end, we are going to count down actually what are the top 7 most underrated Pokemon anime moments of all time. And obviously I'm gonna give you my very subjective opinion on this. This is obviously not gonna, you can take over these opinions and play it around. Comment your thoughts down below, what I've missed, what I should have mentioned, and we can get started from there. Number 7. Many of you, especially the OG anime fans, probably remember this, but have completely forgotten Ash turned into a fucking Pikachu once upon a time. Now the episode known as Hocus Pokemon featured a character named Lily who was trying to cast a spell with Ash voluntarily acting as a subject in order to read Pokemon minds. That was the original goal, but instead Ash fell into the spell as a trap of turning into Ashchu. It was quite honestly, that was the first time I saw that episode and I was like, that's when I started reading fan fictions and started writing fan fictions on turning into Pokemon myself, because I was like, wow, I want to be a Pokemon, I want to be a Pikachu, look at how cute he is. Moving on to number 6, it is a very underrated moment which I feel no one ever talks about because, let's be honest, no one really cared too much about Pokemon contests at the time. But Dawn and Buneary's performance in the Pokemon contest, I'm calling out this episode because in the episode Arriving in Style, Dawn and Buneary were invited to a Pokemon contest in Hearthome City called the Hearthome Collection by a character named Paris. For this episode, Dawn was struggling a lot as a coordinator. She was not doing well in contests that she was partaking in, and she really needed, kind of that ignition to finally kickstart and, go on the uprise to finally be a successful character and companion. Subjectively, I think this was actually the major turning point. This performance was really, really good, and it even had Hikari's theme playing in the background during Buneary's performance in that first round of that Hearthome collection. Really, really cool. Number 5, it is going to be the snowball argument between Ash and Serena. Now, prior to this episode, obviously Ash lost the gym battle against the Ice-type gym leader, and look at this, Ash has a major argument with Serena for the first time, which many know Ash is Serena's longtime crush. And now look, this isn't the first time Ash has lost to a gym leader, obviously, he's lost numerous freaking times. However, that Snowbell gym was a little bit different in that he was absolutely fucking depressed. He was absolutely depressed despite having a hot girl next to him cheering him on who also had a crush on him, and he was obviously oblivious to it. This is the first time Serena came up and just started, throwing snowballs at him, figuratively telling him to get the hell up, this isn't the Ash she knows, etc, etc. And now from a story perspective, I thought this was significant because it's kind of like where the turning point really is. Ash starts racking up wins again ever since then. He ends up second in the Pokemon Championship in that arc, so hats off obviously to that moment. I feel like it's a really undershouted moment. Number 4, going all the way back to the Indigo League, Pikachu beating Lieutenant Surge's Raichu. This was actually a really critical moment, especially back in the original Indigo League. A lot of OG fans will remember Ash was literally this close away from deciding to give Pikachu the Thunderstone to evolve to Raichu to give it better stats and all that stuff. Yet that battle basically proved, Ash never needed to do in the first place. Pikachu is good enough and persevered. And obviously, look, if the thing is gonna freaking beat Leon's Charizard at the very end to win the championship, then obviously this episode proved its point. Ash didn't need to give Pikachu the Thunderstone, it didn't need to evolve, it beat the Raichu, fair and square, outsped it, did some really tactical techniques, and I think this kind of was a battle that obviously is overshadowed because numerous battles Pikachu's had, but it's one of the most pivotal points in the entire franchise. Number 3. Ash beats Gladion to win the Alola League. Now, I don't know if this really belongs in the underrated category because numerous people were talking about it up until Ash's defeat of Cynthia and Leon in the championship. I still think this is worth noting because obviously I don't think Ash would have made it to the championship had he not become the Alolan champion. I think this is a really critical point because if you do analyze that very last Lights and Rock battle, his Dusk form versus I believe the Midday form, it was just a really interesting battle. I don't know if it was a Midday form, if it was a Midnight form, we'll see later on. Number 2. Pikachu versus Regice, Ash versus Brandon round 3 in the Battle Frontiers. This was season 9 of Pokemon. A lot of people might have even forgotten this by this point because there's been so many magnificent battles in the years that the anime has launched. But I think the Regice versus Pikachu final battle, that bold tackle against Regice to knock it out and finally giving Ash, you know, the Battle Frontier champion, it's just something else in my opinion. You know, people can talk about his victory over Paul, that Infernape versus Electivire battle, the battle against Gary in the final of the Master's Quest, other battles obviously I've mentioned before. But the Regice versus Pikachu, Brandon versus Ash round 3, it took him 3 tries to finally beat Brandon, for God's sakes. He was obviously the hardest Battle Frontier. The Battle Frontier was absolutely magnificent. That was a really incredible 9th season. I just think it was overlooked ever since Ash finally got the championship, because that moment proved that Ash was able to defeat legendaries, prior obviously Charizard beating the Articuno in the previous Battle Frontier, but having had to take 3 tries to beat Brandon's Regice and his other Pokemon proves that this is one of the most difficult feats Ash has ever accomplished in his entirety, and I just think it's way overlooked now. I even think in terms of the sheer hype, Pikachu's victory over Regice should be just as applauded as his victory over Leon's Charizard. Now, the number 1 most underrated moment in my subjective opinion is going to be episode 105 titled Charizard Chills. This is, quite frankly in my opinion, one of the greatest episodes of all time in the Pokemon franchise. Not because Ash defeated some crazy champion or whatnot, or Ash saved Pikachu from the miraculous defeat, but it was Charizard finally deciding to listen to Ash after almost 2 whole seasons of not obeying Ash after he evolved into Charmeleon. Now, to give some context, when Ash first encountered Charmander, it obeyed him. When it first evolved to Charmeleon, that's when this trouble started rising. The Charmeleon completely lost all of the trust for Ash after a few events, and as it also evolved into Charizard, continued to not listen to him. Charizard had a very stained personality with Ash around because there were some mishaps in which Charizard felt like Ash was just not the true companion that Charizard was able to see eye to eye. He looked down on Ash as a trainer and not just disrespected him, but completely felt like Ash was just not good enough to work with him in Pokemon battling. This was completely changed when Ash, after a very heartful talk with the Charizard, was finally able to show Charizard that he will do anything in his willpower to become a better trainer for Charizard in order for Charizard to finally acknowledge him and see him eye to eye. This was also done so in which Charizard was, I believe he was suffering from very bad ice frozen condition, because back then ice types were not ineffective toward fire types, so Charizard was having some crazy bad, let's just say, hypothermia. Ash was rubbing the hell out of its belly trying to make him feel better, and I think that was when Charizard finally had that wistful moment where he realized, okay fine, let's give it a try. So that's when everything else just kind of wrote itself after that. Ever since then, Charizard has become a powerhouse in Ash's team. He beats Gary in the Master Quest League in the final match, and it kind of just gives a whole new light on how strong Ash really is as a Pokemon trainer, because at that point in time, Ash was seen as a very, very weak trainer. He unfairly won a lot of his gym battles in the Indigo League. Not a lot of people thought he was going to go that far in the Indigo League itself in the championship. So that, I feel like, completely changed once Charizard joined his team in a very obeying fashion. And not only that, but Charizard has won some very incredible battles for Ash ever since then, including that Articuno battle. That one's intense. So yeah, I figured this was definitely something most worthy to pronounce as the number 1 pick because of how significant the impact truly was, and what a lot of fans might not have even realized or have completely forgotten happened. Now, this wraps up my top 7 most underrated moments in Pokemon anime franchise history. There are many other moments I have completely probably forgotten. Please do leave a comment below to let me know what I have missed, and let me know what your thoughts are as well. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys again very soon. Ciao.